I'm Zach Clark for Space Coast Daily. With me, as always, Orville Susan and Steve Wilson for the Friday Night Locker Room Show. We're out here at Beef O'Brady's off State Road 524 in Cocoa. Guys have been a sponsor of the Friday Night Locker Room. Talk about how much they mean to you guys.
Yeah, Beef O'Brady's, State Road 524 in Cocoa. You've heard that commercial probably for seven or 8 years at least on the Friday Night Locker Room. Sean O'Reilly, Timmy O'Reilly, they've always been big supporters of local youth sports. And to team up with the Friday Night Locker Room a few years ago has just been, I think, a successful partnership. Hopefully for Beef O'Brady's, and I know it has been for us, but sponsors is what it's all about. That's what allows us to be on the air each and every Friday night. And Beef O'Brady's in Cocoa has been a big part of that.
Orville, talk about how much Beef O'Brady's means to the Friday Night Locker Room Show.
Oh, you know, when we first started this, we did our coaches shows all over Brevard County, and we moved them from restaurant to restaurant. And we got a feel for this restaurant right here, for some reason, seemed to draw a lot more people. So we started doing all of our coaches shows, north, central, and south, from this location here. And every Friday night that we did it, Sean O'Reilly and his brother Timmy were very happy with the people that came in to watch us do the show, and the coaches and everything that came in were very happy with the food that they were able to get here and the show that we did. So it turned out to be a very good venue for us to join up with the Beef O'Brady's here on State Road 524 in Cocoa. It's worked very well over the last 8 years, and like Mike Erdman Nissan Cadillac on the 520 Causeway in Merritt Island, it's been a very successful for us and hopefully very successful for our sponsors.
And guys, we're getting into, districts are about to start up for the boys here. Let's start off with the 2A. Steve, you got the 2A. What's going over in the 2A?
You know, the teams play the regular season to position themselves all year long, and hopefully to get the higher seed to make your first round game a little bit easier. Class 2A is interesting. I think Masters Academy, Covenant Christian are probably the top two seeds. The Brevard Heat, if you're looking for a dark horse in 2A, look at the Heat. Morningside and Merritt Island Christian down just a little bit this year, but I think Masters is going to be hard to beat, and Covenant Christian out of Palm Bay has a pretty good chance of securing one of the top two spots, which will enable them to compete in regionals the following week.
That was the 2A. Orville, you have the 3A.
I've got the 3, and it consists locally of Florida Air and MCC. Both of them teams played this week. The Florida Air Falcons beat the Rock 72-66 to get into their mode to go for their district championship. They were the #1 team in that district last year in Class 3A, and MCC did the same thing. They beat Seffner Christian 62-54. Kellum Rogers, has been big for MCC all year. He dumped in 23 points that night for MCC against Seffner Christian, and I look for it to be the same. And it's going to be a dogfight between Florida Air Falcons and MCC Hustlers in that district.
Steve, you got the 4A.
Yeah, 4A, we've talked all year long about the pair of Tigers, the Holy Trinity and Cocoa, and I think when all said and done, those two teams will be playing for the district championship. If you're looking for a dark horse, Space Coast Vipers have played well, won a lot of games this year, but they're just not quite there yet. I don't see them competing with either Holy Trinity or Cocoa. Holy Trinity coming in, I don't know if you call it limping a little bit. They've lost 3 games in the last 3 weeks, lost to 3 quality teams. One of them was Cocoa, but they lost to Coral Springs and another strong team from South Florida. So the Holy Trinity Tigers have played strong competition down the stretch, haven't won all of them. You know, what kind of a mindset would that put them in? I'm not sure, but I like the way the Cocoa Tigers are playing. They've just been playing solid basketball, and Coach Rowe seems to have the kids getting better and improving every week, which is what you want to do, especially when districts roll around. I look for those two teams to be in the finals. I think if it does happen, I think it's going to be a great finals like it was last year. I'd almost hate to pick one of the two. All I'm going to say is the Tigers will be district champions.
He's got the Tigers. All right. And
makes it easy for him, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Orville, you have the 5A, District 14.
Class 5A, District 14, Merritt Island, Rockledge, Satellite, and Titusville. Last year, the Rockledge Raiders were the #1 team in that district, and the Titusville Terriers were the #2 team. Chris Bramage has done his job this year in getting his Titusville Terriers from the new spot, #2 spot, to the #1 spot. Keith Logan's had injuries all year long, playing a very young squad. They're the number 4 seed in that district this year, which is very surprising to a lot of people. But I think the Titusville Terriers and the Merritt Island Mustangs. The Merritt Island Mustangs won 2 out of 3 this week, beat a couple quality basketball teams and doing that. So I like the Merritt Island Mustangs coming up, and the Satellite Scorpions are doing well too. I think it's going to be the Titusville Terriers, and the Satellite Scorpions and Merritt Island Mustangs will fight for that number 2 spot.
And then in District 15.
District 15, you're going to look at a little bit different here. That's only a 3-team district there. Bayside and Palm Bay. Bayside lost to Palm Bay this weekend, 55-37. So that says a lot about that. They're going into the district next week. They'll have to play Suncoast. Suncoast is winning. They won the district last year. I think they'll win it this year. And I think Palm Bay will be the number 2 team this year instead of Bayside.
Okay. Steve, you got the 6A.
Class 6A, 2 local teams, 2 out-of-area teams. We've talked all year, the Edgewater Eagles and the Heritage Panthers being 1 and 2, O'Galley and East River being down a little bit. The Eagles open up against O'Galley in district play, and then Heritage will play East River. I'd be very, very surprised if Edgewater and Heritage don't win their opening round games. Heritage has won some big games in county. They defeated Melbourne earlier this year. They beat Holy Trinity. They're one of the top teams in the county. They haven't had this success against the out-of-area teams. They lost to Edgewater a couple of times. The second time was a little bit closer. I don't know that the Panthers are quite ready to compete and defeat Edgewater. They'll compete with them, but I don't know if they can beat them. But look for Edgewater to probably win the district. The Panthers probably be the runner-up and hit the road in the first round.
Orville, you have the 7A.
7A, Martin County, Melbourne Bulldogs, Sebastian River Sharks, and the Viera Hawks. Last year, the Melbourne Bulldogs and head coach Mike Sullivan won that district with Martin County coming in number 2. This year, it's going to be tough. I haven't seen the seedings yet. Don't even know if they're out. But I think Martin County is going to be the number 1 seed in that district, with the Melbourne Bulldogs being number 2. But Melbourne closed out their season this week by winning 3 ball games in a row. They beat the Rockledge Raiders, the Cocoa Beach Minutemen, and the O'Galley Commodores. So you like getting on a nice little win streak going into the districts, and Melbourne did that by winning 3. Viera beat Edgewood 84-58 this week. Shannonville with 25 points in that one for Viera, and then Viera turned around and lost to Titusville 59-43. So Derry Rodney with 10 points in that ball game for Viera. But I like the Melbourne Bulldogs to do it this year. They'll get the number 1 seed again, and I think Martin County will be number 2.
That was the overview for the boys. And guys, we have the top 5 for the guys. Steve, we'll start off with you.
Top 5, and I only have 5. Believe it or not, checking in at number 5, Coach Mike Sullivan's Melbourne Bulldogs. Played solid all year long. Their biggest win of the year, maybe the game we covered a couple of months ago when they defeated Cocoa. I like Melbourne at number 5. I don't have a number 4. I have a tie for 3. Heritage and Holy Trinity. They're so even. I couldn't figure out which one to make 3 and which one to make 4, so I made them a tie for 3. I like the Tigers from Holy Trinity. They played solid all year long. Lost a couple of games down the stretch, but to quality opponents. Heritage Panthers have won some big games in county. I couldn't figure out. Couldn't differentiate between those 2. Checking in at number 2, the Cocoa Tigers, who have played solid. Coach Rowe's kids played solid from start to finish. Oftentimes, Coach Rowe has to wait for his football players to come and adapt into the system. Not so this year. The Tigers started off strong and really haven't skipped a beat. They lost a few games, but that's going to happen over the course of a season. Florida Air Academy Falcons, I think, are probably still the best team in Brevard County. I have them at number 1.
That was Steve's top 5. And Orville, who do you have in your top 5?
Well, I started out just like Steve. I like the number 5 spot there for the Titusville Terriers and Chris Bainbridge. I think that they've won some quality ball games coming into the last of the season. I think they're going to do well in the district, and I think it will end up in that district. They'll be hosting the district as they did in the girls. I think it'll be the same 2 teams in the boys as it was in the girls. I think it hopefully would be the Rockledge Raiders and the Titusville Terriers. I would like to see that matchup. Logan Keith for the Rockledge Raiders has Sid Farrell, his big guy, back. He's struggling a little bit, but I think when district rolls around next week that they should do well. But I've got Titusville Terriers at number 5. I've got Heritage and Melbourne tied at number 4. I'm like Steve. I'm going to throw in one extra one here. Okay. But I like what Mike Sullivan and the Melbourne Bulldogs have done. Like I said earlier, they've won 3 games this week. That sets a tone for them going into the district that they are capable of winning some close ball games. The next 2 spots are Tigers. Either way you like it, pull one out of the hat or the other. I've got Holy Trinity at number 3. I've got James Rowe and the Cocoa Tigers at number 2. And as at the beginning of the year, just like on the girls' side, we have a definite number 1. Steve and I have agreed. I don't know how, but we've agreed all year on both of those, and that's the Rockledge Raiders on the girls' side and the Florida Air Falcons on the boys' side.
Yeah, not a bad top 5. I believe you left the Panthers out from Heritage High School. No, I didn't. Who'd you lead? Holy Trinity. How many did you come up with? 7? So you got everybody in. The one thing he did, you had Titusville in the top 5 quality football program, basketball program. They actually had a pretty good football year too, but you got Rockledge beating Merritt Isle in the first round of the districts. I don't know that that's going to happen. Coach Flaskamp's Mustangs are really playing solid basketball, but next week's top 5, it's going to be interesting because some things are going to happen this week, I think, that are going to surprise some people.
I think we're all very excited for districts that are coming up. Once again, we want to thank Beef O'Brady's for letting us broadcast out here on State Road 524, right next to Publix. For Zach Clark and Orville Susan, Steve Wilson, this is the Friday Night Locker Room Show and for Space Coast Daily. Thank you very much for watching.